I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No. You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
The fuck?
Yeah. My thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly. Now, hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new rant. And this rant is going to be for a film that I did not want to check out right away, wanted to wait weeks later to even bother with this one. And that's going to be for 2025's Anaconda. Yeah. This is not another Anaconda sequel, it's a meta reboot. Now look, is this one of the most horseshit films of 2025? No. Because we've had worse stuff like Happy Gilmore 2, we had Woman in the Yard, we had Megan 2.0. I think a lot of those are much more horseshit than this was. And well, the plot of this one is basically these four childhood friends go through this crisis, so they decide to remake their favorite horror film of the 90s. And that's to apparently remake this movie. Yeah. Let's totally remake a film that, yeah, it has cult status now, but back when this film came out, I think I remember it was hated. So why would you remake a hated film from the 90s that only gained cult status in years later? Makes no fucking sense. But hey, it's Hollywood. They can't make fucking movies anymore. And this is fucking proof. Say, remake Anaconda, but these guys are dumb fucks, so they get their snake killed, and then a real anaconda shows up out of nowhere, and they get more they bargained for, and their chaotic movie makes turns for a life or death situation. The movie they're dying to remake, or it just might kill them literally. So as for my reaction, yes, I've seen the original Anaconda, and I actually do like it. I think it's a fun guilty pleasure monster movie, but it was a movie you only needed once, because Anaconda, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, not terrible, but just, I guess a fine, not bad guilty pleasure I can pop on once in a while, but you did not need the rest of these dog shit films. You did not need no Lake Placid versus Anaconda, which even that, Lake Placid should have stayed one movie too, because Anaconda 2 was not bad, it was just more of a not really wanted film. The Lake Placid sequels are garbage, all of them. No, I wouldn't be surprised, if they probably want to do a meta reboot of Lake Placid next, because this movie's actually making decent money. I wouldn't be surprised if they probably decide to do the same thing for Lake Placid next while they're at it, or they might as well just do that for the sequel to this. They might as well just have Jack Black's character want to go reboot Lake Placid, or if it's not the sequel, then they might as well just why don't we let Seth Rogen reboot Lake Placid and make it a stoner comedy because it's Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen likes weed. And so, hey guys, like plastic, the crocodile's a crocodile, he's green, he's gonna smell weed. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised they do that shit next. I remember when the trailer came out, this had me headbanging against the wall from how fucking awful this trailer was. This looked like an embarrassment, and Wannabe Tropic Thunder, or a film Jack Black's character from Tropic Thunder would make. Anaconda, now, did not need a reboot like this. And besides, if the original had such bad reviews when it first came out, why give it a reboot in the first place? If it wasn't liked when it first came out, it's liked a little more now, but it wasn't liked when it came out. It got bad reviews and it didn't do well. So why give this a reboot? I mean, yeah, it's not one of the worst horseshit films of the year because, let's face it, maybe this probably could have worked, because, well, it's by the director who did The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and I actually really liked that movie. That film was pretty much about a fictionalized version of Nick Cage playing a fictional version of himself, which was pretty much kind of a take on Nick Cage's decline, and actually career in general, and it actually, while it didn't do well at the box office, it was actually successful at critics, and it's actually kind of revived his career a lot more. So, ever since that film, he's gotten roles again. And that film actually worked well because, Cage actually gave a good performance. Cage was actually having fun playing the fictional version of himself and satirizing his own career. And his scenes with Pedro Pascal, well, back when Pedro Pascal was tolerable, not the Pedro Pascal we have now, we actually had good chemistry with one another. That's why the film works so well. If you made an Anaconda meta reboot, maybe about J-Lo, Ice Cube, Owen Wilson, all the actors from the original film that still have careers, maybe have them play fictional versions themselves. And, maybe have it be about them wanting to shoot a direct Halloween 2018 style sequel to Anaconda. Be a satirical take on those kind of sequels. Be a satirical take on those. Maybe you could have did that. Could have just had them go out, try to shoot an actual sequel with their characters, and then they actually end up in the situation their characters were in. They have to survive it for real. That could have worked. Maybe it still probably would have not been the greatest, but you know what? If it was actually done that way, maybe, it would still be better than what the fuck this was. Than this Jack Black shit. So how was this film made? So it was around January 2020 when SONY was going to be developing a reboot of Anaconda. Nevin Daughtry attached to write the screenplay, and then Tom Gormican was announced as director of the film. Then in 2024, in August, Jack Black and Paul Rudd got cast in lead roles. And Rudd was originally going to be cast in Black's role, but then Black came aboard later, and the two actors swapped parts upon Black demanding that. And then September 2024, Daniela McCord joined the cast. In January 2025, Donnie Newton, Steve Zahn, who hadn't been seen in a while, Stella Mello, and Lone Skye joined the cast, and filming began in Australia, and concluded in February 2025. And of course, the one infamous cringe scene was shot during reshoots, and then shooting of the mid-credits occurred later on November 2025. And then a week before the film's release, Ice Cube revealed his brief involvement in the film. But I think his character in Anaconda, as you can see right here, probably would hate this reboot and probably would be screaming in anger at it, like this picture. Because this film is fucking trash. Not horseshit, but it's still trash. But after it was shot and marketed, it's premiered at the United Theater on December 13, 2025, released by SONY on Christmas Day, the same time as Marty Supreme, and sure, maybe it's not necessarily bombing per se, well, because it was released during winter break, but it lost that week to Marty Supreme. Good. Because Marty Supreme's actually better than this shit. This literally lost to Marty Supreme on Christmas Day. It got mixed reviews, and it's made $122 million worldwide. Alright, here are the bad qualities and story of this trash. Basically, this reboot comes across as a straight comedy. It pushes the horror monster elements in the background, basically. It's literally jarring for people that would be jarring for people that actually like this movie, like myself, and trying to attract some different kind of audience. And the problem with the comedy is that the humor's not funny. Parody, meta humor, and spoof elements actually don't work in this film. And the film feels so messy and difficult to follow, and not rather than even genuinely funny. And with the chaotic comedy, the story is way too incoherent. Characters exist to move the plot forward and then disappear, but then they reappear again. And you explore a theme of a bunch of missed opportunities, gets overshadowed by a bunch of unfunny, dumbass humor in the film. And the visual effects in this reboot, yeah, like they all look like dog shit CGI. The Anaconda itself looks like fucking PlayStation. It looks like fucking PlayStation 2. And it does not even appear until later on in the films. Basically, most of the film, it is them on the boat for that time being, trying to shoot their shitty film that nobody would go watch in today's world. It would probably be released to YouTube, and that's it. And, you know, they would probably, they're either in the jungle as well. They're either on those most of the time. Like, in the original film, you could see the animatronics being used here. So, and it made the Anaconda feel a lot more convincing. The story, it's predictable as hell, the script is awful, the acting is mediocre, and the characters, like, none of these characters are likable. Neither Black or Rudd's characters are even likable at all, and they're forgettable. But I think I have to say which of the two was the most unlikable. It sounds crazy to say this. Originally, the trailers make it look like Jack Black's going to be the most unlikable of the two. But, because originally the trailers make it look like it's his idea to reboot the film. But apparently the one of the two that's the most unlikable was actually Paul Rudd's character. And I'll get to that in a little bit. And you don't care if they survive or not. You kind of hope that Anaconda kills them. So how do we start off? So we start off with this opening scene where this giant snake like kills a few hunters, and you know, it seems like it's going in a nice direction so far. And then you get to the actual film where Jack Black's character is actually directing a wedding video, and you get a 5-minute monologue of him trying to sing this little score for the video, but the wedding couple are not interested. And Paul Rudd's character is trying to act in a show called SWAT, but because his character is so bad at acting, he gets fired and kicked out. Steve Zahn's character also does this either kind of other work, I forget what job he has or something, and her other friend Claire, they're all dissatisfied with the way their lives are going. So Paul Rudd's character, at one point, so before that, they have this birthday party for Jack Black's character, and then they all get together and watch this, and pretty much watch this homemade video they did in high school called Quatch, which basically has them swearing nonstop as teenagers, running from this rubber suit Sasquatch. And then the next day they're at this diner. Rudd's character literally makes this obvious lie that they talk about Anaconda, what they watch, and Paul Rudd's character's like, you know, I got the rights to Anaconda from the dead author, so why don't we reboot it? You could tell he's making this shit up. Like, it's obvious where this is gonna go. It's obvious, you know, you're gonna obviously find out he doesn't actually have the rights, as just trying to get some attempt at work, and trying to think he can make it to the big business, but despite the fact that he's barely a good actor, his character's barely a good actor, got fired from a show reasonably because he can't deliver his lines. Black's character's against it, like, dude, we're grown up now, we have lives to live. And now Black's character does have a son that doesn't really contribute a lot to the movie at all, but the brief scenes, you know, I didn't mind some of the scenes he had with his son, I guess. You know, like, his son makes him this little Oscar trophy, but he puts his character's name and not dad on there. But Jack Black's character likes the little Oscar trophy his son made him. And, you know, maybe those moments were too bad, you know. Maybe these characters would surprise me. But then the rest of the acts kick in, and then they lose me in that bit. But so he goes to. And so after randomly listening to "I don't wanna wait for our lives to be over," that gets him the idea that to go make Rudd's character's shitty reboot. So they secure a loan of 9.4 grand, and they go to their Amazon rainforest to make their low budget version. And they get joined by this random woman they never knew named Anna, who's going after illegal gold miners. And pretty much so, they have this snake handler Santiago with them, and they're trying to shoot the film, and their characters are badly performing at their roles. Like, you could tell this would look like a fan film that would just be dumped to YouTube. Like, that's the thing. A film like Anaconda, films like that were a thing in the 90s. Welcome to today's world, where a film like this would probably never see the light of day in today's world. That's the thing. Like, nobody would go watch a shit reboot of $9,400 in a theater. Not in this world, they wouldn't. And, like, you can obviously, like, well, I don't know what else, but, and they pretty much are bad at interviews, because at one point Paul Rudd's character gets his toothpick stuck between his mouth there when trying to be the main protagonist, and basically at one point their snake gets out and kind of almost looks like it's about to kill Rudd's character, but so the next day it didn't kill him, but next day Rudd's character gets freaked out when the snake gets too close to him, and he accidentally kills the snake they're meant to use. So, yeah, basically because, like, that's why I say, this guy is easily the dumbest fuck of all of them in this movie. Literally every single scene, Rudd's character fucks everything up, actually makes shit worse for the gang, almost gets them killed 800 fucking times. Like, you're not surprised this guy can't find work. You're not fucking surprised. And the friends have shit chemistry with one another. And so he goes and apologizes to the snake handler. And they go into the jungle to find another snake. And when Santiago is starting to get attacked by this massive anaconda in the jungle, it's Paul Rudd's character becomes a pussy and decides, no, I'm not going to save him. I'm getting out of here. He basically leaves him to die. Like that, yeah, like this was a good lead character. This guy is sorry he accidentally killed a snake because he got over freaked out. And then fucked up their snake, fucked up their own movie. And then tries to go find another one, but when he realizes Santiago's not back, he just bails on his ass for death. Yeah, this is such a good lead character, people. This is a good lead character. It tries to be funny, and it doesn't even remotely succeed. They waste 2 cameos, and you know what? Throughout this film, I was like, let the Anaconda win and kill their asses. The whole film. Because these characters are not likable. You don't care about them. You don't root for them. This film, you want the Anaconda to win. In this one, you actually wanted the good guys to win. This one, I'm actually the opposite. I'm actually rooting for the Anaconda. And yeah, now, you remember the trailers had that shitty Nicki Minaj song called Anaconda? Yeah, because get it? The song's called Anaconda. This one, and obviously because it has Mix-a-Lot's lyrics from Baby Got Back. My Anaconda dope. Like, because I had that in it. Well, they played Baby Got Back in the film during the opening, or I think during the end credits, and during a little bit of the montage when they're writing that shit reboot. Because they're just using the Anaconda lyric part. I'm surprised when they were shooting this reboot, they didn't try to have a scene of the snake actually twerk its ass to the lyric while they're at it. I would be surprised if they did that. These cast members are just playing themselves. It feels like they just ad-lib the film. There's barely anything creative or funny. Just trying to ad-lib goofy characters, and there's nothing creative or funny happening. Like, some of the people in the theater are actually laughing. I was like, why? What was so funny about this movie? They could have just cut pointless dialogue, some pointless minutes of pointless dialogue, but they're just ad-libbing and coming up with random stuff they could think of to try to make the movie work, and it doesn't work, especially with the horrendous acting. And that's another thing. Jack Black actually used to be funny. You know, back in the films like School of Rock or Shallow Hall or Tropic Thunder, back in the 2000s, he actually was funny. Nowadays, this Jack Black, other than Bowser, the only tolerable thing about Jack Black today is Bowser, and that's it. Other than that, you have stuff like Borderlands, which I hate that film. I also hate that dogshit Minecraft film he did. That also came out last year. From him breaking into the mine, from Momoa's character complaining his beard smells like Gouda after being your Black's crotch, from Black Momoa singing the birthday song, from the stupid fucking chicken jockey reference, from all the shitty CGI, from all the other stupid memes that get referenced. Yeah, I also hate that film as well. Bowser's the one thing from him today I can actually tolerate. Like, nowadays this black character plays the same character in every film nowadays. Now, Paul Rudd, I don't mind. I don't mind Paul Rudd, but other than, only reason really in this is because, Ant-Man 3 bombed, so I'm not going to get any more Ant-Man films, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire didn't really do well either, so those new Ghostbusters films didn't really last, so we had to move on to this. Then Steve Zahn, we hadn't really seen any movies of him in years. There wasn't interesting about his character either. Especially this one joke of his character in the film I will mention in a bit. There's the thing though, but once again, like I said, this movie could have worked. You could have made a horror style film like the same tone while still having meta comedy in it. If you're gonna make it referencing requels and stuff, you could have had it be about J-Lo, Ice Cube, John Voight actually going, and maybe Owen Wilson if he was available, actually going to shoot a reboot of their character, actually shoot a direct sequel starring their characters. But then they have to end up in the deadly situation their characters were in for real. You could have had a fictional timeline version of themselves, just playing themselves. Maybe that could have worked if it was done something like New Nightmare, like Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That actually did something similar, and you know what? That movie actually worked because it took the franchise seriously. It was still a horror movie. It still had meta references in it, but it actually took Freddy Krueger seriously. It didn't make Freddy Krueger a CGI joke like this movie does with the Anaconda. So, eventually then Black's character decides that Anna's a character and basically kick Paul Rudd's character out of the film. Well, at that point, I guess it does make sense because Paul Rudd's character throughout the film just fucks everything up for the whole entire game, really. And pretty much becomes the most unlikable of the game, even. And then eventually, though, this is where the lie gets exposed. So while they're arguing, this film crew from Sony comes in. And Black's character's like, what are you guys doing out of the jungle? Oh, we're remaking Anaconda with the actual cast. And then they realize, you didn't have the rights? You're fired. Get out of here. So basically Rudd's character basically lied about having rights and basically stole work. Yeah, basically stole Sony's property from them. Tried to make it without their permission. Almost basically committed plagiarism and committed a crime. So they reasonably fire him for dragging him to the jungle, now putting them in danger. By this point, so yeah, Paul Rudd's character leaves to go join the other crew. And honestly, if they were around, I don't think they'd want you around either for probably stealing their property work because they probably would have asked why you were there. And then he arrives there, but apparently the Anaconda has already killed most of the set and Bandit and kills the director of it, killed many of the cast and crew. And then you find out the twist with Anna that you can see coming a mile away. She's actually an illegal gold miner on the run from the cops. and a police officer apprehends her because he's been tracking her, but then Paul Rudd's character gets a change of heart, and guess what? Apparently he thinks the officer is trying to capture them, but guess what, people? Guess what? He kills the fucking cop! Yeah, could this guy be any more of a dumb fuck? Shoots the officer in the legs, like, this guy's trying to kill you. No, this guy's a cop, you idiots. God. No, this guy's not just an idiot. All of you are. All of you are idiots. All 4 of you. You 3 are no better. For even believing that he even owned the rights in the first place. You know, plus... But then Anna kills the officer, then holds them all at gunpoint, but eventually, though, one of them actually does fight back on them. And the Anaconda then kills her, so that twist is basically lived for nothing. Yeah, you know this Anaconda is neither a sequel or a remake, but it's a meta-comedy stuff with too many references of other horror classics as well. Like, they do reference Texas Chainsaw Massacre because when they were kids, they actually would watch horror films in the basement and freak each other out before they eventually get to the plot where they're parodying Anaconda. And an idea like this would sound amusing, but it falls flat with the wrong hands. And what begins like maybe could be not bad parody, it turns to juvenile fare when they got to the jungle. And the fear horror elements action sequences, there's not really any to speak of. And you just lose interest with how boring this film is, and it lives off commenting on itself. It talks about why the movie even exists, who owns the rights, and whether it's even a good idea. And when someone just drops, I have the rights to the movie, it's just a plot point, and really nothing else intentional. And yeah, like I said, it's similar to Tropic Thunder. It is similar to Tropic Thunder. Look at the plot of that movie. These dumb actors have to make a movie, but they find themselves thrown into trouble, and it has some meta commentary. But you know what? Tropic Thunder was actually funny. You know, it was actually creative. And the cast were actually great in their roles, from Ben Stiller, Jay Baruchel, Robert Downey Jr. even. Who easily actually deserved his nomination for that role. They actually worked well in that role, playing this satirical take on Oscar bait actors who star in Ortiz prestige films. That the character was the best part of the movie, even. And Jack Black's character went back when he was tolerable. Jay Baruchel playing the satirical take on newcomers, and Brandy Jackson playing a satirical take on rappers going to film, and he had Matthew McConaughey playing a satirical take on agents. That's the thing, like, that's why the film works so well. Yeah, I also got to mention Tom Cruise's brief role as the corrupt Hollywood CEO was also gold. That film worked well because it was well directed and it was actually creative and fresh. Like and that's the thing, Ben Stiller actually knew what he was doing with that movie. Anaconda, like unlike Tropic Thunder, what actually knew the tone it had needed, it's like it's trying to either be horror. This one is either trying to be horror or trying to be comedy or trying to be meta, but it doesn't work. Yeah, now, the original Anaconda, yes, it was PG-13 too, but the difference was this film was a hard PG-13. You got good deaths with the snake regardless. This new movie, it's way too soft for the kills, so anyone who's looking for good kills in this movie would be disappointed. The comedy's lackluster, the characters are dumb, not a fun dumb, there's idiots to be idiots, Paul Rudd's character is the worst offender of all of them. The meta stuff is just half-assed, and it's nothing like we've already seen before in many other meta films that are actually better. It bounces between either trying to be homage or parody or half-hearted horror in the end. And the lack of focus is just difficult to stay invested in this film. And when the film hits a danger and undercuts itself with humor that's not funny, it feels forced, it's not organic. So the friends decide they have to go home, and when Paul Rudd's character stops to apologize to Jack Black's character in the worst place of all of them... Actually, no, before that, I'm going to mention the joke I was talking about with Steve Zahn's character. So, Jack Black's character gets bit in the leg by a tarantula, and he can't walk faster, so... The only way they can cure the tarantula bite is if one of them pees on his leg. So Steve Zahn's character has to do it, and then you find out this fucking bit. I can't pee while I'm standing. I have to pee while I sit. And so basically, it requires him to sit on Paul Rudd, and then so he can piss on Jack Black's leg. The scene goes on for 2 fucking minutes! And so he successfully pees on his leg. Who wrote the shit? How is this funny? When I watch this fucking movie, I totally want to watch a scene where a guy gets his leg bit by a tarantula and a guy has to pee on it. Yeah, I totally want to watch that in this movie. Yeah, great. Fuck out of here with that shit, man. Yeah, this is one of the humor people. So, then you get the bit where Rudd's character tries to apologize for being such a dumb fuck, but he becomes more of a dumb fuck in this scene too, because then he almost gets Black's character killed by an anaconda. But they find his lifeless body, and you know in the trailers he's still alive, because this is the trailer where they try to use this as bait, but you know because of the trailers he's still alive. He's obviously not dead. And Steve Zahn's character wants to put a dead squirrel in his mouth. But then he's still alive, and even the warhog that was apparently swallowed with him is still alive. But the anaconda eats the warhog, and then they successfully escape. They go back to the wrecked SONY set, and they get saved by Ice Cube. One of these SONY actors decides he's going to hold off the snake and equip the team with weapons before he goes to rescue any other surviving members. But before he goes off, the 4 basically selfishly demand they get a selfie with him. And he tells them, don't post that shit, alright? Like, they demand like a few selfies with him. So, are these guys that narcissistic and selfish that they're willing to leave the other actors in danger so they can get a selfie with Ice Cube? Are these guys that narcissistic and selfish? Like, I'm pretty sure that's more important right now than getting a damn selfie. That even Ice Cube's annoyed about having to stop and take a selfie with these 4 because he'd rather save the cast members first. Because I'm pretty sure that would be a lot more important. So, they attempt to kill the anaconda with some other bombs, but that fails, so Paul Rudd's character shoots propane tanks with a flare gun and blows up the anaconda, and Jack Black's character delivers the final blow to the head, and it's like, jokes like drag on too long, like the stupid pee joke. Other jokes are too short. The subplot with the criminals goes nowhere. You didn't need that shit in the movie at all. The humor may help the broad audience appeal, but it just dilutes the tension that even defined this movie's name. And the original, like, this one thrived on fear, suspense, jungle horror elements. There's, like, none of this in here. And it falls short on trying to even be remotely epic. The other aspects is the portrayal of the snake itself. Like, the anaconda, it doesn't look bad, I guess, but the problem with its design, it could be a cool design if it was practical, but it's not. It's this CGI bullshit that feels like it was pulled out of a PlayStation 2 video game. And it just breaks immersion. It just looks like some digital crap construct than a living menace. And that's the thing, despite its shitty design, I'm rooting for this anaconda to win. I wanted all 4 of these characters to die. Because none of these 4 were likable. In fact, all of them are actually selfish, although I think Rudd's character pissed me off the most of all of them. I didn't like the other 3 either. I thought all of them are assholes. But now we get on with the finale of the movie where they've successfully complete their illegal, shitty fan-made reboot, and they go to this international film festival and they're applauded, but it turns out Sony refused to let their movie be seen, and it sends them a cease and desist letter. But apparently, the good things happen to the characters. The female with them and Paul Rudd's character, they get married, and Paul Rudd's character somehow gets rehired on SWAT, despite the fact that basically filmed an illegal reboot without Sony's permission. So don't you think maybe this guy would probably be fired and probably be arrested for stealing property that's not his in the first place? And what else can I think? What else? Oh yeah. Steve Zahn's character finally learns how to pee while standing. Oh yeah, and then basically remember that selfie Ice Cube told them not to post? Well, guess what? Steve Zahn's character posted anyway, and then Ice Cube replies, "I told you not to post that shit." And apparently he replies, "I'll delete it, but I don't know how to delete it." My God, maybe if I was one of these 4 idiots and he told me not to post it, I would not post it. I'd actually be smart. I wouldn't post this shit anywhere. And then, of course, and then you get a post-credit scene where Jack Black's character gets visited by J-Lo, who apparently liked his shitty reboot and wants him to direct the actual one. And then he collapses, and he faints. But apparently somehow, despite the fact that this got the original plan members for the real reboot killed, why would they want to go try to reshoot it if it's probably going to happen again? Why would they want to try to risk that again? You know, especially with how inexperienced these 4 were, you think maybe it'd be a bad idea to let Black's character direct the actual one? But that's how it ends, like, right there. So, just like that. Yeah, if you almost got killed shooting a reboot of your movie before Ice Cube probably came and saved you, why would you want to go try it again? It makes no sense. And apparently the snake trainer is still alive, but is left stranded in the middle of the jungle. But I guess whatever. The asshole succeeded. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Alright, so now do I have any good qualities? No, the idea of me, like I said before, fine. Like I said before, the idea of a Meta Anaconda reboot, you know, could have worked if it was done by the guy down Way Massive Talent, but if they had just, you know, like I said, maybe if they got the original cast members back for it, and maybe do a satirical take on nostalgia bait sequels, and have it be about them shooting a nostalgia bait sequel to Anaconda, and you know, it could have worked like that. If it was done like New Nightmare, it could have worked. And maybe it could have worked. Maybe. Probably wouldn't have, but it would be a little more tolerable. And despite the shitty CGI, the Anaconda doesn't look bad. I'll admit that. If it was practical, it would probably be better, but, you know, I found myself rooting for the Anaconda, so I can't complain too much about the Anaconda itself. And, you know, the opening scene actually did kind of have me sold for a little bit, and then you met our actual lead characters. I wished how that opening scene would go was the actual plot of the movie, too. I wish it went like that, but other than those, fuck this reboot. I'll just pick this any day. Just hopefully don't get a fucking sequel to this. So in the end, just avoid this Tropic Thunder wannabe and go watch Tropic Thunder itself, because this is basically that movie, except basically that movie itself is actually funny and good. This isn't. Anyways, that's it for my rant on Anaconda 2025. If you're wondering Anaconda 2025, I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, unless you want to discount Tropic Thunder, just don't watch this movie. Just go watch either that or even the original Anaconda itself. If we're going to grade Anaconda 2025, I'm going to give Anaconda 2025 a 4 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up my rant for Anaconda 2025. Now I want to know in the comments down below for those who had saw this movie, what they thought about this movie, whether they liked it, whether they hated it. And until then, guys, that will be it for this rant. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.